It was a cold November evening. The sun had long set beyond the horizon, leaving only a faint glow of twilight that was disappearing with each passing minute, giving way to thick darkness. The roads were empty, and the street was silent, broken only by the sound of passing cars. Alexei, tired after a long day at work, was driving home, dreaming only of hot tea in the quiet of his apartment. But fate had other plans. As he drove along one of the deserted country roads, lit only by sparse streetlights, Alexei suddenly noticed something strange on the side of the road. In the headlights, a tiny creature flickered, barely distinguishable against the dark backdrop. At first, he thought it was just a piece of paper or litter that the wind had blown onto the road. However, as he got closer, his heart sank. There, in the pitch darkness, sat a small kitten. It was so tiny that it was almost impossible to see. Alexei quickly slammed on the brakes and stepped out of the car. The kitten, wet and shivering, was curled up, trembling as it sat on the cold asphalt. It looked as though it had been abandoned, left to fend for itself on a dangerous road without a chance for survival. Alexei cautiously approached, trying not to frighten the little creature. But as he drew near, the kitten didn't move. Perhaps it was too tired, perhaps too scared, or maybe it simply didn't have the strength to run away anymore. The small animal raised its eyes to the man, and in them, Alexei saw something that words could hardly describe, a mixture of fear, despair, and hope. "What are you doing here, little one?" Alexei whispered, kneeling down beside the kitten. He slowly extended his hand, being careful not to startle it. But the kitten didn't resist, it didn't even attempt to flee. It seemed to have already understood that it was all alone in this world, and perhaps this was its last chance for help. Alexei picked up the tiny, trembling creature in his arms. Its fur was damp, and the kitten felt so light, almost weightless. For a moment, he felt a surge of fear. What if it was too late? What if the kitten didn't survive the night? But with determination, Alexei headed back to the car, wrapping the little one in his scarf to warm it up a bit. He placed the kitten on the passenger seat and turned on the heater to full blast. The small creature lay quietly, not making a sound, occasionally trembling from the cold. Although he was eager to get home, Alexei now thought only about how to help this tiny being. On the way, he remembered that a friend of his, Marina, was a veterinarian living nearby. Without a second thought, Alexei turned off the road and headed to her place. When he arrived, he knocked on the door, holding the kitten tightly. Marina opened the door quickly, and seeing the kitten in Alexei's hands, she instantly understood what had happened. "Oh, poor little thing," she said, gently taking the kitten from him. "He's severely hypothermic, but I'll do my best to help." Alexei followed Marina into her small clinic, where she began to examine the kitten. Under the bright light, it became evident just how exhausted and worn out the little creature was. Its tiny body was covered in dirt, and each breath seemed labored and heavy. "You found him just in time, Alexei," Marina said, applying warm compresses to the kitten. "He wouldn't have survived if he had stayed on that road a little longer." Time seemed to stand still. Alexei sat in the corner of the room, watching as Marina tried her best to save the kitten. After several hours that felt like an eternity, the kitten was fed, warmed, and wrapped in a soft blanket. Its breathing became steadier. It even let out a faint purr, a weak sound, but a sign that life was still present within it. "Now he needs rest and a lot of care," Marina said, turning to Alexei. "Are you planning to keep him?" Alexei thought for a moment. He had never planned to adopt a pet, but looking at the tiny, fragile being that so desperately needed help, he realized he couldn't let it go. This kitten had become a symbol of hope for him, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there's a chance for salvation. "Yes," Alexei replied softly. "I can't leave him alone." Weeks went by. The kitten, whom Alexei named Murzik, recovered slowly but steadily. Its fur became soft and fluffy, its eyes sparkled with curiosity, and the weak purrs turned into loud sounds of contentment. Every evening, when Alexei returned home, he found Murzik cozily curled up on his favorite blanket, bringing him a deep sense of satisfaction. This little kitten changed his life. Alexei realized that sometimes, even a small action, stopping on the road to save a tiny life, can alter the fates of not only animals but also people. Murzik became not just a pet but a loyal friend, who reminded Alexei every day of the importance of showing kindness, even when the world seems cold and engulfed in darkness. The story of Alexei and Murzik became known among his friends and neighbors. People were amazed at how such a small encounter on the road could lead to such a strong bond. But for Alexei, it was simple. It was about the human heart, about the ability to love and care, even when it involves the most fragile life. With each passing day spent with Mirzik, Alexei felt that the kitten had become a part of his soul. And though Mirzik was no longer the weak, trembling creature he found on the road, Alexei would always remember that night, the night he chose to save a small life and, in doing so, changed his own. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thanks for watching.